Hi. Hi, I am Eva, and I am too old for book talk. Uh, so, as I mentioned, I wanted to put out my first review, and I figured I gonna start with the Black Farm. Pretty controversial, as far as I know. It's definitely out there in the extreme horror genre. So, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, I always want to learn. Uh, the difference between extreme horror and a splatterpunk is that extreme horror is often gore for gore's sake. So, the author will put stuff out there to gross you out, to shock you. It's a gore for shock value. It's a violence for shock value. While the splatterpunk also have that. Don't get me wrong, but usually the gore and the violence have its own purpose. It can build the world, it can build the character, it can show you how brutal the settings might be. So it is useful in certain scenarios. And that's the main difference when people talk about splatterpunk or extreme horror. While splatterpunk is often called extreme horror, there's still some differentiation there. So, okay, that's why I have notes, because my brain went completely sideways. Anyway, okay, so I did finish a Black Farm some time ago, a few weeks. I don't exactly remember when. But it's a Black Farm by Elias Witherow. And I definitely have thoughts. I definitely have thoughts. When you look at the blurb, when you look online, when you hear people recommending it, you'll definitely hear that it's very gory. You'll definitely hear some people saying that is the most disturbing things they read. You'll hear some people saying they could not finish it. You'll hear people saying that it wasn't that bad, and you'll hear people saying they love it. As always, reading is very subjective, and what I enjoy might not be what you enjoy. So let's start. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Did I hate it at parts? Definitely yes. So let's start with why I picked it up. So at the time, I was reading The Housemaids by, let me check, Ian Rob Wright. So Housemaid by Ian Rob Wright. And I was struggling. And I'm not gonna go into details. That might be next review. I don't know yet. I definitely gonna make one for that book because I have definitely thoughts and never mind. Okay, I'll go to that later on, or come back to that later on, or rather in the later review for that specific book. So I was struggling with it, and one of the books that I saw recommended, because I wanted to go more into extreme horror at that time, was Black Farm by Elias Witherow. So I saw it recommended a lot. I saw people really enjoy it. So I figured, well, let me download the sample. I wasn't sure if I want to read it because people talk about it being so brutal, and it being so relentless, and it being constant torture. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to read that. I wasn't sure if I want to spend my time reading about torture and gore constant throughout. I don't even remember how many pages it is, though it's a shorter story overall. So I downloaded a sample. I wanted to start reading the sample as a palate cleanser, for the lack of the better words, from the housemates when I couldn't keep going. I needed a break, so I got the sample for Black Farm and I read it. And the sample itself was very well written. Well written, again, it's a very subjective. Uh, for me, when it's well written, I can imagine it very well. Descriptions are just far enough for you to vividly imagine, but not overkill. I when I read, I see images. So if I don't get that trigger, I struggle through the book. So for me, when it's well written, the story flows. It goes fast. I want to read it. I want to keep going. So in that aspect, the story was well written. The descriptions were disturbing. The details were disturbing. The overall feel was very claustrophobic, and you could definitely feel the sense of urgency, sense of being frightened, of terror. That's the word. Sense of terror, and really made you feel like the main character, Nick, um, was trying to survive by all costs. And it stopped at the cliffhanger, which I expected. But I enjoyed the sample. It seemed like it will be something that I might enjoy. Though it stopped at the moment when my brain went, okay, now we're going into constant torture and constant gore. And I, again, wasn't sure if I want to go there. So I put it aside and went back to the housemates, and I skimmed a lot at the end. Again, I'll talk about it in a different review, but decided to look at the price for the Kindle version of the Black Farm, and the price was right. I figured, in worst case, if it's too much, I can always stop it. I can DNR it. Now that I'm trying to go back to reading, I try to be much more selective with my DNRs. I DNR books much easier, because if I'm not going to enjoy the book, I'm not going to go through it. That's why I don't want to promise that I will be reviewing a lot of things that are currently on top and popular, because I don't know if I'm going to like them. Anyway, again, tangents. Hopefully you don't mind. So maybe let's start with what I should probably start a little bit earlier, is the premise of the book itself. So without the spoilers, the premise of the book is you have a Nick and Jess. They are a couple. They are not married. If I remember correctly, they are just girlfriend, boyfriend. And they lost their child. And through a few different unfortunate circumstances, they decided to just end it all, to just have peace and not worry about anything anymore. So they went through the process, and we're waiting for just bliss. I feel nothing, there's darkness, nothing happens. Well, unfortunately, Nick wakes up in the world that is definitely not a very nice place. It seems dark, it seems very brutal. He wakes up being dragged and things like that. And from the blurb itself, they reveal that it's definitely a very harsh world, or hellish world, as they call it. And he decides that he wants to survive, and he wants to find Jazz so she doesn't have to go through the horrors that he can imagine happening out there. So that's the premise. So the premise itself is very simple, very basic. He's the main character. He wants to find his girl and save her. So that's the premise. Now, with everything that you read, you expect it to be very brutal. You expect it to be full of gore. I expected to be non-stop torture, non-stop gore, whatever. So non-stop gore, non-stop torture, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting it being brutal. I was expecting it being very fast-paced as well, I guess. I'm not actually sure if I should have expected that, but thinking back, that was one of the things. So, and you could expect that it's gonna have some interesting settings, something that was not necessarily done in a horror or extreme horror yet, as far as I know. I might be wrong. So if I'm wrong, let me know. And I will definitely revise my, or I might too want to read what that recommendation might be. Anyway, so the premise was interesting. The descriptions were interesting. The writing was interesting. So the price was right. I decided to get it. So I put the housemaid to the side and went back to the platform. And I wasn't sure if I want to continue, mostly because my brain went into, okay, now we're going into the constant torture, constant gore. And I still didn't know if I necessarily want to read that, especially from the details in a sample. I knew it's going to be rough to read. But I figured, as I mentioned before, that I can always stop. Nothing forces me to finish it. So I kept going, and I kept going, and kept going, and kept going. It definitely was a page turner. Not gonna deny that. It was definitely interesting. It was it fast-paced? I'm not 100% sure. It was kind of in the middle. But I definitely wanted to keep reading it. So every time I had some time, I did read it. Eventually, I went through and I was conflicted. I wasn't sure how do I want to rate it. And I was thinking what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And eventually I formed my rating, and I am not sure if it's correct or not. I'm not sure if I rated it too high or not. But I know why I rated it the way I did. So what worked? Trying to go without spoilers. For me personally, the farm became the main character. I was fascinated with the world. I was fascinated with the monsters. I was fascinated of what is the history of it, what is the lore for it. So the curiosity of that world was mostly what kept me going. And now, what didn't work? And there's quite a few of those. So what didn't work for me? The biggest part that didn't work for me were the characters. They seemed bleak, they seemed rushed, they seemed underdeveloped, and I could not emotionally invest in them. And the world itself became the primary character for me. The actual main character, Nick, and later Jess, they became secondary. they definitely did not carry book for myself. I do have some more things to say, but I think that's as much as I can say without revealing too much. So I will start the part with the spoilers. So I'm gonna give a spoiler or alert. I'm gonna put in a description, I'm gonna put some timestamps so you can jump wherever you want to. If you haven't read it and you don't want spoilers, check the timestamp and go there. I'll give my final thoughts, I'll give my actual rating, and I'll give my thoughts who I think the book is for and who's definitely not for. So I'll give you some time, pause if you don't want spoilers, and jump further up. Okay, now let's talk spoilers. Let's talk details. Let's talk why I loved it and why I hated it. So, let's start with the characters since we just talked about it, or I just talked about it, I should say. So, let's start with Nick. He is such a main character. He's, in my opinion, he reminds me of a main character in isekai. So he goes through a traumatic experience, he gets through the torture, and after his first death, just like that, he becomes a great person. Not maybe a great person, but he becomes the badass. Why? How? Why any other of the people out there that were this other suicidals there were not able to do what he's doing right now just after first death and first traumatic experience? Makes no sense to me. He definitely, for myself, adapts too quickly, and he just seems like a narcissistic person. And the more and more we learn about him and Jess, the more that feeling of him being narcissist gets reinforced. And I think his redemption arc went too fast. I think the overall emotional part was very stretched. So I really didn't care for him. I didn't care what happened to him. I didn't care. When I read whatever was going on with him, I focused more on everything else but what's happened. So maybe that's why gore didn't hit that hard, because I didn't care for the main character, so I didn't care what happened to them. Maybe. So Jess. So we have Nick, and then we have Jess. When they finally collide, I get it. She had depression. She was tortured before ending everything, and I get it. And as Nick predicted, she did stay at the farm. But once they reunite, there's really not much of her in the book. She's very background character. She's very damsel in distress. She's very, I can't make my own decision, and you need to save me and do everything for me. So I hate that type of a stereotype of the character, because it's an accessory in my opinion. So it just felt like accessory for Nick, and just a plot device to push where the book went. So she wasn't much better than Nick. Um, there really wasn't much of her, so I couldn't really attach to her at all. And the redemption part of their relationship at the end made no sense. How easily she forgave him made no sense to me. Again, I understand traumatic experiences can change your worldview and all that kind of stuff, but everything seemed so rushed. So those are the two big parts. So Nick and Jess are the biggest parts why I hated the parts of the book. Now, I said I really enjoyed the world, and I did. That's the biggest part that I loved. The world building in the entire thing was fascinating for me. The premise was very interesting, and I really enjoyed learning more about the Black Farm. That said, there wasn't enough for me. Because the book is so short, we only saw few different places and everything seemed disjointed. I could not get a full idea of the place. I could not get the full idea of different types of the pigborns and stuff. Some of the scenes, like the scene with the sleeping watcher later in the book, made no sense to me. That was never kind of hinted even on explanation why. And I don't know. I wanted more world building and lore, even if there was a lot of it. I could not get fully into that world. I could not find my footings there. So I think that it would definitely be better if it would be a little bit longer, if the author had an ability and time to develop the world a little bit more. That said, I don't know how the second one is. I did get it, but it's a little bit further down my TBR. I'm hoping that it's gonna give me some more information about Black Farm and the characters and the lore and all that. So that's my hope. But the issues, pacing, as I said, I don't think it was that fast. It started fast, it ended fast, and then kind of dragged in the middle, which is okay. A lot of books do that. But one of the other problems I had is advertised gore. So I expected, as I mentioned, constant gore, constant torture, fast-paced, relentless. And that's not what I got. Sure, there is a lot of gore, there's a lot of twisted scenes described pretty detailed, but there wasn't as much as I was expecting. Was it good or bad? I don't know. There were scenes that made me think that author either was uncomfortable in describing the scenes or wasn't fully committed to what he was writing. Let me explain. There are times when he have a great description of the beginning of the scene. Then, and it's very detailed, you can definitely feel it, you can definitely imagine it. And then in the middle is just, and then this happened. And then you have an aftermath, again, detailed descriptions and all that. Usually, it's either leave everything for the imagination, just hint at the beginning and then keep going from the start, or you not submit, or you commit to the entire thing. And it threw me off a few times. I was glad that I didn't have to read those parts in the details as everything else was written, but it did throw me out of immersion because it was just very abrupt and very weird for the flow. So that was one of the parts that I did not care for. Oh, and a level of descriptions and level of storyline. I think once the sample finished, everything past that did not have the same strength, did not have the same impression on me. I think it was a little bit rushed. There were plenty of places that it was predictable. The eye of the world seemed very plot device. They kind of made sense, but kind of didn't. Very quick, I knew exactly where it's going, and it was almost unnecessary, but it had to be done to book to finish the way it finished. But without any type of a build-up, it just, I don't know, it was very undeveloped. It was very weird, and it just didn't make sense. And that was one of the things that I saw coming from the mile away. I do not think that the ending was earned. I don't think the story progressed enough and was developed enough to make really sense to how it ended or when it ended. So what did stuck to me? The sample was very strong. That's why I bought it. And one of the things that I was actually wondering is there's that scene with the slug in a sample, a slug, human slug, whatever. That scene still stuck with me because I could right away imagine how it looked like. And just the entire thing, you could feel the desperation, you could feel the will to survive, and you could feel the terror of Nick. And that was probably one of the last times that I could picture it that much. And what made me wonder is if everyone's pig-born, what the slug did there and why we never saw anything similar later on. Just a thought. I haven't actually thought about it till right now I'm talking about it. That was the biggest part that I enjoyed. I did enjoy the world. I did want to learn more. And I hope I will with the second part. So was it really worth it? For me, yes. I still enjoyed it. It was still a page turner. I still went through it very fast and I still wanted to learn more. But I didn't want to learn more about the storyline. I wanted to learn more about the world. So it worked and it didn't work. Because if you just want to learn about the world and you don't really care about the storyline, then is it good? Let's go to my final thoughts and let's try to not spoil everything for that. So, was it worth it? For me, yes. I did enjoy it. It was a page turner. I definitely enjoyed World much more than I enjoyed the character and the storyline. But I also couldn't put it down. Now, how did I rate it? After some thinking, I rated it 4 stars. And that's what my Goodreads review shows. Why? Because I enjoyed it, because it was a page turner, and because even if the story didn't carry it, even if the story was underwhelming, I still enjoyed the book and I still couldn't put it down. So I decided to put 4 stars, definitely not worth 5. And if I rate it purely on execution, it wouldn't be 4 stars, 3 at the most, but that's not the way I want to rate my books. I want to rate my books because I enjoy them or because I don't enjoy them. That's what it is about. I don't try to focus on was the prose great, was the construction of the book how it should be, was everything grammatically correct. Thankfully, I didn't see any glaring issues that jumped out on me right away. So, the biggest strength, the world building. The biggest weakness, main characters, and the world building. Not enough. I wanted more world, less Nick and Jess. Actually, more Pigborns and more of the Black Farm characters, but not Nick and Jess. The biggest surprise was the gore. Not as much as I was expecting, not as relentless as I was expecting, and not as frequent as I was expecting. It was out there, it was brutal, it was described in details, but it was not as bad as I was expecting from what was said about the book. After I finished the book, I remembered more about the settings than I did about how disturbing the book was. And I don't know if this is just something wrong with me, which could be, or just because I didn't care for Nick and Jess, that I didn't care what happened to them, which means I didn't care about the story, which means that the world building was the only thing that I paid attention to. Could be. I did want to learn more about the world. I did want to learn more about the lore. I did want to learn more about the Pigborn and all that kind of stuff, but definitely didn't care for Nick and Jess. Like, whatever. Now, let's go to the part, should you read it? If you don't mind gore, if you want to try splatterpunk, though maybe that wouldn't be the best first book in a splatterpunk, but if the violence, if the torture, if gore does not disturb you, if you can get past the fact that the characters are not the main focus and a storyline is not the main focus, then it is definitely worth reading. However, if you always focus mostly on the storyline and the characters, you might not enjoy that. If you can't handle gore, torture, physical as well as mental, all that type of things, you probably don't want to read that book, and you probably don't want to read the splatterpunk, and I'm not sure why you're here. But there's one more group of people that I would definitely not recommend that. If the fictional depiction of the afterlife would feel uncomfortable for you based on your beliefs, you do not want to read that book, because you'll be likely disappointed and possibly mad. And why would you want to read something like that? If you're not sure, try to get it through library, though I don't think that they have it in the libraries. I think I tried, and at least my Libby didn't have it. But when I got a Kindle at that time, I think I paid $5 for it. So it was a very reasonable price for the shorter novella. So the final sentence I guess I could wrap up that entire review with is that I do not believe that the storyline was strong enough for the world it created. Would I still rate it 4 stars? Probably. I still enjoyed it. I still couldn't put it down. So for me, and for my way of reading and for my type of stories that I enjoy, it was good enough for me to buy the second part. So once I read it, the second one, I definitely will review it as well and see if what I'm hoping to get from the second one, so more of the world and focus on that. Not maybe not focus on that, but more of the world. I want to learn more about it. I hope for that. Will I get it? I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I don't know when I'm gonna read it. I have a few other things that I'm currently reading and want to read before I touch that one, unless I'll feel like going back there sooner than what I'm planning on. I am very mood driven reader, and it might end up that few books that I'm planning to do right now will be DNR'd. I don't know, or DNF'd, I should say, not DNR'd. So anyway, babbling again, mumbling. Uh, yeah, I'm just going on the tangents one way to the other. I hope that some of you at least decided to stick around till the end. If you did, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. If you want to give me recommendations, I'd love that. If you want to give me your opinions, either agreeing or disagreeing with me, reading is very, very universal, but it's also very subjective. Everyone gets different things from the books and from the stories. So I love discussions. So maybe I missed something. Maybe I misunderstood something. Maybe there's a little bit a deeper meaning in some parts that I just missed. I would love to hear that. Anyway, I don't even know how long this video gonna be. We'll see once I start editing it. So it's gonna take a while. So next book that I'm hoping to review, either The Housemates, maybe Intercepts. I have a lot of thoughts about that one too. Those are the first two that I can think about right away. I have a couple arcs that I read a little bit earlier that might be worth talking about. Yeah, I don't know what else. That's probably good because I already talked for, I don't know, probably half an hour, if not longer. So thank you again. I hope that my review gave you some things to think about, and I hope to see you again later. Bye bye.